Throughout NBA history, there are many conspiracies, controversies, and criticisms that have changed some NBA fans and their views on how the NBA runs their organization. There's an entire National Basketball Association criticism and controversy Wikipedia page that goes through every single conspiracy theory and controversy that has happened in the NBA. Obviously not every single one is correct, but at the same time there have been NBA officials that have come out and stated that they rigged games and they purposely controlled the narrative. And it was David Stern, who obviously, rest in peace to David Stern, but he changed the NBA as we know it today. He brought in a new audience, he made the game exciting, he made it fun to watch, and he was able to get NBA players the contracts they have today. Back in February of 1984, when David Stern was the NBA commissioner for the first time, he changed the league entirely to what it is today. Over a 30-year reign on the league, and he's definitely one guy who many believe changed the league but also rigged a lot of things in the league. For example, the infamous 1985 NBA draft where Patrick Ewing was selected with a folded envelope. That has obviously been covered many times, and it's no surprise that everybody thinks he rigged the draft because there was a folded envelope. It was New York City, and of course David Stern would want one of the biggest cities to have one of the biggest players. It's no surprise. But then there's also many other instances. The Chris Paul Vedio trade at a time when New Orleans was officially purchased by the NBA, and it was David Stern who was technically the owner of the New Orleans Hornets, and then somehow that trade gets denied out of every other trade that we've seen go through.
Well, whose decision was it to stop the trade?
No, not to stop. No, not to stop. There's no superstar that gets traded in this league unless the owner says go ahead with it. And in the case of New Orleans, the representative of the owner said that's not a trade we're going to make.
But that representative was you, if I might.
Correct.
In effect, then, you said the trade is not going to go through.
I said that New Orleans would not make the trade that had been proposed to them.
And of course, many people don't agree with what David Stern did, or they almost choose not to believe the NBA is rigged. There are just a lot of things that don't make a lot of sense in the NBA, and maybe they shouldn't. But first and foremost, the NBA is a business. But of course, David Stern was a businessman as well, and he wanted the NBA to succeed and maybe rig certain parts of the league just to make it more enjoyable to watch for NBA fans and give them a reason to keep returning. Because if people don't return, the NBA isn't the NBA as we know it today. But one story that isn't necessarily covered a lot are the Lakers and their 2013 playoff conspiracy. With that being said, before I get into the video, if you enjoy these types of videos and you enjoy NBA conspiracies and all sorts of NBA content, trades, analysis, stories, be sure to hit that subscribe button for more NBA content every single week. Hit that notification button so you never miss an upload, and I would greatly appreciate if you guys could drop a like for the channel. It takes 1 second of your time and it would make my day. So before even watching the video, I want you to comment down below right now, do you believe in the 2013 Lakers conspiracy, or do you need more information? In that case, let's get into the video. Of course, David Stern always wanted the biggest teams to be on the biggest stages. It's no surprise. Once again, he was a businessman and the NBA was a business. The bigger the team, the more viewership, the more money, and it all works hand in hand. David Stern once was quoted by saying that if he'd want any team to be in the NBA Finals, it would be the Lakers versus the Lakers. So it's to no one's surprise that the 2013 Lakers was one of David Stern's favorite teams, because not only did they have Kobe Bryant, they had Pau Gasol and the newly acquisition in Dwight Howard and of course Steve Nash, who was a two-time MVP. He wasn't the Steve Nash that we saw in Phoenix, but because of the history of Steve Nash and obviously Kobe Bryant still being one of the best players in the league, the Lakers as a whole obviously being in Los Angeles, secondly they had two of the biggest stars in the league in Dwight and Kobe, and they would bring in a lot of revenue every single game and of course a lot of viewers, which is what David Stern wanted. But as we know, that 2000 Lakers team didn't live up to expectations. Through 60 games into the regular season, they had a record of 30-30, which obviously for the team that they had was really poor. But we have to rewind all the way up to the first game of the season. It was the Lakers versus Dallas Mavericks. The Lakers lost. They lost again to Portland. Then they lost again to the Los Angeles Clippers. They started off with an 0-3 record, and many just thought the Lakers were struggling with chemistry issues. But by the first 3 months, they really weren't doing that well. They were 15-15, and they weren't able to string wins together. And when they did go on a 5-game winning streak, the next month they went on a 6-game losing streak, and it basically continued like that for the rest of the year. But then after the 60th game of the season, where the Lakers were 30-30, for the next 3 months, the Lakers finished with a record of 45-37. But in the last 3 months to end the season, the Los Angeles Lakers went on a tear. They started March with a 30-31 record, and they ended April with a 45-37 record, meaning that they went 15-6 to end the season. And of course, some people would be like, of course they did that, because when you think about it, this is a Los Angeles Lakers team with Kobe Bryant, Dwight Howard, Pau Gasol, and Steve Nash. Of course they just strung some games together. But when you look at the entirety of the season, there's a lot of speculation as to how the Lakers ended their season off so well. Unfortunately, Kobe Bryant would get injured against the Golden State Warriors, and we all know about that game, which basically ruined them to get into the playoffs as they got swept by the San Antonio Spurs in the first round. But according to many, it was David Stern and of course the NBA who wanted the Lakers in the playoffs, because at one point they were looking like they weren't going to make it.
Third straight loss. Here's the question. Are you concerned that the Lakers may miss the playoffs?
And at the time, it was also people like Basketball Breakdown, who obviously posts YouTube videos today and is amazing on his analysis, and this is some of the stuff he said when he was watching the game live. This video is back in 2013, 2 days after the Lakers faced the Warriors and won.
Well, let's get into the Lakers-Warriors from the other night, because here's part 2. We're going to look at the refs and down the stretch. Right in front of 2 refs, Dwight Howard clearly steps out of bounds before saving this ball. This loose ball foul on Ezeli was pretty bad because it was made by a ref who was 30 feet away. There wasn't any contact on Howard as 3 guys went for the ball. He fades away on the shot and the ref is way late calling it. On the play where Kobe injured his Achilles, he went down with just about no contact. The ref assumes there's a foul since he fell down. At this angle, Barnes has his left arm on him, but by no means is that a foul in the NBA. And this was the worst of them all and the most crucial. Dwight Howard lowers his shoulder, is clearly moving, and causes all the contact. Blake isn't even bothered by the contact. Play should not have been interrupted. This gave Blake 2 free throws and the Lakers the lead. Jack executes poor footwork and steps out of bounds. Time Warner Cable never showed a different angle, so I never saw how accurate this call was. And it was all too much to overcome for the Warriors.
And B-Ball Breakdown wasn't the only one who suspected this. There's a channel called Mars Neotech, and he posted a video about the 2013 Lakers playoff conspiracy with no audio, but there's a little bit of information from Bill Simmons and his podcast where he talks about the Lakers getting favored by the referees as well. Back in 2013, when it seemed unlikely that they would, there was one game in particular when the Lakers faced off against Portland and they shot 3 times as many free throws as the other team. Not only that, there were certain games where the Lakers would get so many foul calls that it was almost unfair, and you could tell the refs were definitely in on something.
The Lakers are not going away. They're going to get in, and it's just a question for me of who falls out. I was more bullish after I watched the game 2 Fridays ago when the Lakers shot 3 times as many free throws as Portland. I was like, oh, okay. I forgot about this variable. The Lakers get every call variable. That could be
I did. That was a fun. You know what was fun about that game? I didn't watch that game. That wasn't one of the games I picked for that night.
Yeah.
Then I was reading the blog recaps. And even like the Blazers blog was, of course, going crazy about the refs. And the Lakers blogs were even saying, the refs do seem like we did get every call. NBA.com's video recap, those like 3-minute clips that refs just not mentioned, free throws not mentioned, just like, oh, look at these exciting highlights.
There was a game against the Dallas Mavericks where the Lakers were the 9th seed at a record of 27-29, and the Dallas Mavericks were the 10th seed with a record of 25-29. The Lakers were 3 games behind the 8th seed, and Dallas was 4. But when you watched the game, it went down to the wire. But then there were certain calls against the Dallas Mavericks that were just not called, and they were clearly obvious calls. For instance, the Dirk Nowitzki fadeaway that was clearly a foul, but the Lakers didn't get called. But I think the biggest one is definitely when the Lakers were facing off against the Warriors, and unfortunately that was when Kobe Bryant tore his Achilles. But before Kobe Bryant tore his Achilles, it was quite obvious that there were many calls going against the Warriors and going for the Lakers that it almost seemed like the referees were in on it. And at the end of the day, I would not be surprised one bit. And neither was B-Ball Breakdown at the time either. But basically, when the Lakers were blown out by the Clippers on February 14th, it seemed unlikely that the Lakers would make it to the postseason. But over the next month, they miraculously went on a massive winning spree that pushed them into the playoff picture, and that's when many people suspected that the NBA was rigged, and that they were favoring the Los Angeles Lakers, which obviously for David Stern and his sake, it made sense. And of course, this isn't the only time where people said that the Lakers were being favored. For example, the 2002 Western Conference Finals, the Sacramento vs LA series, especially Game 6, many people looked to that game as rigged. There's also the 2000 Portland Trailblazers, the 2004 Minnesota Timberwolves, where the Lakers obviously favored by the referees. And not only that, when you look at the video evidence, it's so profound that you can kind of see that the referees were definitely in on something. You don't even really need to understand the NBA or what the league is about. If you just look at the game and you see how many uncalled fouls there were and go through each and every game, I mean, to be honest with you, it's almost seemed as if it's definitely rigged. And like I said, if the Lakers are in the playoffs, that automatically equals more money for David Stern and the NBA. And at the end of the day, it's a business, and that's what he wanted. With that said, let me know what you think of this NBA conspiracy theory. Was the 2013 Lakers rigged, or were they just a good enough team that made it to the NBA playoffs and somehow turning their season around after playing very poorly throughout the regular season? I'm not sure about you, but when you go through each and every clip, it definitely looks like the Lakers were in on something here, and it looks like the referees definitely favored the Los Angeles Lakers, and to be honest with you, it wouldn't be the first time. But I haven't seen too many people post about the 2013 Lakers conspiracy theory, so I thought I may as well make a video on it. So if you did enjoy it, please leave a like to show your support on the channel, subscribe if you're new for more NBA content every single week, hit that notification button so you never miss an upload, and it's been your boy Nick Smith. I am out. Peace.